Welcome to day 3. Give you guys a couple minutes to hop on. Turned off the music for now. Facebook keeps wanting to delete my videos or mute them because there's music in them, which is super frustrating because it makes it just not so quiet. It's more fun to hype things up, but Facebook's gotta put a damper in it. But it is what it is. So say hi as you guys hop on. This is our last day, which it's bittersweet because I like being on here live and talking with you guys. So far this week we've done some mindset stuff. We've talked about prioritizing. Today we're going to dive into self-care and how we can get that into our lives more, and also what self-care we should have versus just any self-care, because there really is more than just one, like just bubble baths and reading books stuff. There's more to it than that, so we'll go through that. If you are watching this later on the replay, hashtag replay, and definitely make sure to drop your questions. Even if I don't answer them live, I will come back and answer them later, especially if Facebook decides not to cooperate, because that does happen, unfortunately. Self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. If you think about giving, and you are never filling that back up, what is left? We can't keep giving from something that's empty. So we have to keep filling it up. The more we try and empty from it, the more we try and give when it's empty, the harder it is, the more stressed we get, and eventually it can make us sick. So we don't want to go down that route, even though some of us have probably been down that route. Let's come back. Let's go down a different route, because we don't need to go down that one anymore. It doesn't have to be where we go. So I'm curious, of those of you watching, if you ever find yourself saying or thinking that the reasons for not doing regular self-care is you don't feel worthy, you don't feel good enough, or you feel like there's just not time, like everything else has to come first, or you feel like you don't have enough money, or you feel guilty for spending money and time on yourself, or just plain selfish because you've got everybody else to take care of. Like, how can you spend time on yourself when you've got everybody else? Which one of those resonates with you the most? Drop those in the comments. I'm curious. I know I have felt all of them more than once throughout my journey in getting my shit together is probably the best way to put it, because I've been in that crazy place of just totally overwhelmed and not thinking that I could do any of this stuff, and now it's a part of my regular routine. Just a reminder, say hi as you guys hop on. If it's not showing, it's showing that you guys are there, but it's not showing anything else. So if you're commenting and I'm not answering, I apologize. I'm blaming it on Facebook today. So with self-care, it's more than just taking care of yourself physically. It's not just to feel better. I mean, it is to feel better, but the deeper part of that is it helps with your energy. It'll help take away some of that anxiety. It also makes us just mentally in a better place. It can help you sleep because you've taken and worked on that anxiety and the other stuff, and just overall supports your physical and your emotional health instead of just being in this chaotic always go state, which is part of why we did the stuff yesterday, because if you can't kind of get a handle on that, then trying to add something else, like, it's not going to happen, right? But if you've taken stuff from yesterday and been able to kind of prioritize and see what stuff doesn't need to fit, like doesn't need to be there all the time, then you can take some of the self-care stuff and put it on top and make you feel better. And ultimately your kids are going to be happier because you're feeling better. Which is another thing that I know comes up, that I think we underestimate how much our kids understand. And I don't see anything wrong with having a conversation with your kids, even when they're younger, saying, hey, mommy really needs this time to do X, Y, and Z. This will help mommy feel better. Like, our kids are really compassionate beings most of the time. Like, we all know they can be jerks sometimes, but that's kids. But deep down, like, they do really care. So having that conversation, and, if you have something that's planned that you're going to do, trying to plan something for them at that same time so that you can still do that and have that conversation of, this is mom's time to take care of mommy. Like, I totally think that's okay. And I think we need to normalize that that's a little bit, like, that we need to do that versus just totally separating it and our kids seeing us as just this super hero person, which, yes, but we also are still human at the same time. So we don't need to be way up there. We can come back down and be human. Like, that's okay. When we get into, like, how to really have a good, well-rounded self-care routine, we need to look at the 5 different pillars of personal care, because there's not just one. And some of that, I think, is where we do certain things and we feel good, but it's not necessarily enough. So one of the most common is physical. Like, we know getting enough sleep, eating better, exercise. Some of the other things that you might not think about, that especially with COVID, this one came up for me, is wearing clothes that make you feel good. Even if you're working at home right now, don't be in sweats and pajamas all day. Wear something that's you enjoy, that makes you feel good versus just comfortable, because there is a difference. I'm not saying don't ever wear sweats, but putting some real clothes on instead of just wearing sweats or pajamas all day. And there's a ton of other things, like anything that physically makes you feel good. Taking your medications, like, that's one for me that sometimes is not as on track as I would like it to be, just because I get busy too. Spending time outdoors, fresh air. There's so many things, which most of us are aware of, some of the physical stuff. But then another one that I think is less talked about, but is also super important, is the psychological pillar of self-care. So this is really looking at that inner mind and doing things that help to clear it, but also challenge it and grow it. So some of the things that can kind of come into that, journaling, doing, puzzles that kind of get you going, and really being mindful of what is going on between your ears and not just ignoring it. I think because of how busy and how crazy society is, we tend to just kind of, like, we think we have those thoughts, but we just, like, okay, I don't have time for that. But we need to take time for that. They're there for a reason. They're not just there because. another kind of fun thing that you can do that helps with the psychological portion is take a day and just be super curious about things. Go somewhere new, something challenging, again, is another thing. And really getting that mind going, both like kind of emotional, but that deeper thinking versus just all of that surface stuff, because there's so much more in there that we can work with that can help us just feel better. The next one is spiritual, and I don't mean this in just religion or believing in a certain sort of higher being. It's kind of whatever feels good to you, and looking at it as getting in touch with your inner self, spirit, and soul. So it's more than just the mind, it's kind of the rest of us. And this is where meditation, some more mindfulness and breath work, listening to inspirational videos, movies, stuff that is feel good, boosts you up. And I mentioned, it's a side note, because I mentioned breath work and I kind of obsessed with it. It's really turned into be a powerful tool, because it's a form of meditation, a form of guided meditation. But for me, at least, because it is a guided meditation and it's a little bit more structured, it helps me to get into that more and to really kind of disconnect versus trying to just meditate on my own. Because sometimes that can be hard, especially if you have that brain that just doesn't want to shut off. So something to think about. If it's something you've never tried and you're interested in, let me know. Drop it down below, because I know a lady who does the virtual ones at least once a week, and she also holds a free virtual one usually once a month, I think. So you can give it a try and see what you think, or if you have questions about it, let me know. But that was just a total side note, because it's been a really powerful tool for me. I've been doing it almost weekly since probably early December. No, I was even doing it in November, actually. Yeah, it's great. Especially if you're somebody who wants to meditate, but you struggle with being able to do it, either because you can't commit to it or because your brain is just everywhere. Yeah, so it takes a little more kind of thought and exploration to find things that spiritually work for you, but it's another aspect that we often don't think of as part of our self-care practice, but it is, because that's that deeper inner part of us that is also super, super important. The third one, and if you guys have questions, again, I'm not seeing anything right now, but still don't hesitate to ask. So the third one is professional, which is job, work, that sort of thing. One of the biggest things is just having a good work-life balance, and that's not going to be a 50-50, because most things in our life around work and just in general, 50-50 is not realistic, but that's okay. Just because it's not 50-50 doesn't mean it's a balance. It's figuring out where that works for you. And some of these we can't necessarily do now, like, spending time with your coworkers, if you're not in the office with them. But I know, at least for my job during the day, we actually have kind of a bonus time that's set aside every week that just us, like me and my coworkers, can get together and chat. So that's one thing. Having a good workspace that makes you feel good, whether it's at the at a building, in the office, at home, something that makes you feel good when you're there. Because if you're dreading going into that office or going into work every day, it doesn't feel good. I mean, really. And sometimes there's limits to that, but really trying to see how you can be creative in making that happen. And taking time away during, like, if you have a lunch break, don't be sitting at your desk. Get away from work and enjoy your lunch. It is separate from your work. I know that's one of the biggest things that I've always seen, especially if you have an office type of job. I've totally been guilty of it myself, but definitely try not to, because I notice a difference when you're sitting at the same place the entire time, having lunch, same place. So making that separation and like really taking breaks instead of just being focused and always working. The last one, which can kind of go along with some of these others in how it affects it, just because of we're human beings, but the last one is emotional. And so some of these things might also affect you emotionally in a good way, but looking at ways you can laugh more, enjoy more, but also at the same time, if you are having a rough day or you're upset, letting yourself feel that. We need to stop telling ourselves that it's not okay, that we have to just bottle it up inside. That is the absolute worst thing that we can do for emotional health. Sometimes, is it necessary temporarily? Probably. I mean, if I'm at work, I can't usually just, start bawling if I'm on the phone. That's not very professional. But if you're at home, there's no reason why you can't cry. And I know some people are like, well, I don't want to cry when the kids are around. I did with mine. They turned out okay. Did I do it all the time? No, but it's another thing that we can help teach our kids, that it's okay to have and show our emotions. Because if we're always bottling them up, what does that show them? Like, we often don't think fully in depth of what we're doing and how it's portrayed to our kids. So something to think about. Other things is, spending time with your loved ones as we can. COVID doesn't exactly allow it as much. Going on a date by yourself. The first time I ever did this, it felt super, super awkward. But you know what? Now I enjoy it. I can't really do it right now, but after that first time, it wasn't so awkward. I even went on a little mini getaway by myself, which was fucking amazing. I had never in my life done that, like truly alone. I've traveled to places to like meet up with other people, but this was just me in my room. Nobody else I knew was there. It was really, it felt really, really good. Another really big one that can help us emotionally is being able to say no. It's hard. You don't have to always say yes. You really, really don't. One theory that I like to live by as much as possible, especially now that I know more about my human design, which is a whole other topic. If it's not a hell yes to you, then it's a hell no. Like, if it's not truly a yes, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. Granted, we might not always be able to follow that because there are certain responsibilities in life, but outside of that, really trying to do that as much as possible. Another one that I know some people have done recently, and that's around digital detoxing, social media detoxing, because there has been so much negativity, so much just drama and stuff. So taking time away from that. I know, especially now, like we are so kind of attached to social media and the news. For me, I don't watch regular news anymore. If it's not something I find online, I probably am not watching it, just because it is so easy to get sucked into all of that negativity and the way that they spin things and focus on the negative. Yeah. I mean, there are some things that we need to know, but not everything. So, would you say that you have been addressing all 5 of these? If not, what area or areas do you need to be addressing more in? I know for me, the spiritual and probably the psychological were the ones that were not regularly being done previously, to me kind of learning more around what we need to do. I used to like the bubble baths and the exercise and the eating better, like that I've done for a long time. But that other stuff, a lot of times we don't necessarily think about. And the stuff that I mentioned, that is definitely not an end-all be-all of the stuff that you can do. Ultimately, it's finding stuff that makes you physically feel well, emotionally feel well, mentally feel good, and spiritually. Like, what are those things for you? And so that's my little assignment to you, is to write out at least a couple things in every pillar. So you have physical, psychological, spiritual, professional, and emotional. Writing out at least 2 things in each of those areas that you could do to boost those things in your life. And they don't have to be paid. Like, that's the other thing that, a lot of people think, oh, I've got to pay to go to a spa or get a massage. And yes, those are great things, don't get me wrong. But that's not the only thing that you can do to make yourself feel better, to take care of yourself. There is way more than just those. If you find that you're, not able to figure out something for you in one area, definitely drop it in the comments and let me know, because I want to help you figure out at least a couple things that you can, do more of or do on a regular basis, because ultimately we should be doing some form of self-care every day, not just once a week. But that's where we have all 5 of these, so it's not just a bubble bath or something like that we're doing. There's all of these. And yesterday we went through and had the prioritizing of things so that we can fit these in. And some of the kind of tips on like fitting them in that are probably most common is trying to do something before your kids get up in the morning. If you're someone who feels good getting up in the morning, that's not me, so I've tried that, and for me that doesn't work because I'm not I'm not a morning person. Something that I have done though that has been helpful, that helps with the psychological portion of it, is I've found a positive affirmation video on YouTube. All it is it's like 28 minutes that it goes through just a bunch of different positive affirmations. And so in the morning, first thing I do is turn that on. Because first thing in the morning and right before we fall asleep is when our mind is the most influential to that stuff. So that's a really good time for those sorts of things, whether it's positive affirmations or meditations. those are really good times for that purpose. So early in the morning before your kids get up, if they take naps, doing it during naps, doing things while they're, busy with their schoolwork, in the evenings after they've gone to bed, when you have those, luxurious times where they're with, grandma and grandpa or with their dad, something like that. Those times you can plan the more, in-depth things. But something as little as going for a walk or listening to, something positive, those don't have to be super involved. You can be making dinner and listening to a positive podcast or positive affirmations on YouTube. Stuff like that is good for the kids too. So that's the other part, is we don't necessarily have to totally separate. Getting them involved is fun as well. So you don't have to necessarily carve out a bunch of time to be able to make these happen. They can happen in those little things, sometimes with what you're already doing. If you're doing laundry, putting on something positive, so you can kind of balance that in that moment. And then when you have that space, because like we mentioned yesterday, like laundry does eventually have to get done, so we can't just continuously put it off. But we can also boost that with positive music, a podcast, audible book, something that kind of gets you in this good, better mindset space, instead of just, oh, this is more laundry to do. Yeah. Any questions, you guys? I know there's a delay, so there's also on Zoom, just for those that have not been on Facebook. So yeah, let's go through. There's 3 different things that I've given you guys this week as far as stuff to help utilize the stuff that you've been listening to. So the first one for Monday was writing out what things you have tried in order to kind of help you change and do things differently, and what things of that worked and what things didn't work. And then the second part to that is writing out how it would feel to be on the other side of a mindset shift that you're entering into right now. So right now you may be stressed and not feeling great, but how would it feel to be in a state every day of joy and abundance and just really feeling like life is great? Granted, it's not going to always be that way, but if that is your mindset more often than not, it is way better than being stuck in this. This sucks. It's another day. I don't want to get out of bed. So trying to get more of those good days versus these not so great days, because there's been a lot of those for a lot of us with all of this pandemic stuff going on. So for day 2, this is where prioritizing stuff to really give you some more time and to just feel like you have your shit together a little bit more. So creating 3 different lists, and that is stuff that you do daily, stuff that you do weekly, and then stuff that you do monthly or less. So even if that's yearly, like some of our yearly appointments, and then prioritizing the stuff on that list. So putting an A or a 1 by stuff that absolutely has to get done, like work hours, those have to be done. Something in regards to medications maybe. And then B or number 2 is stuff that it needs to get done, but there's some flexibility and it's not as dire, as urgent, and that sort of stuff, like laundry and dishes, even probably grocery shopping can be put, because there's a lot more flexibility to those. And then C, or number 3, is really everything else that if it doesn't get done, it really doesn't matter. It might feel good to get that stuff done, but it's not something that has to get done for life to kind of go on. And that can be stuff like organizing, clearing out different things, decorating, maybe even fixing, like I have these spots on the walls from where like paints come off, like fixing that stuff is not like, that's not the end of the world. It doesn't, like, yes, it would be nice to get it done, but it's kind of low on the priority list. And then for today, writing out at least 2 things from every pillar of self-care that you can add into your routine throughout the week. So a couple things in physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, and professional. And if you have any troubles with any of those, let me know as well, so that we can get you over that hurdle so you can be feeling better. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. For those of you that have been watching, thank you. You guys will be entered into the prizes that I will be drawing Saturday evening, maybe Sunday morning, because I'm giving you guys until 8 o'clock Saturday to be able to go through the videos. And you need to be commenting on the videos in order for me to know that you're participating. Otherwise, I have no idea. So yeah, and there are some amazing, amazing prizes. And on top of the prizes, I'm also announcing something also big and incredible that I've been super, super excited about this week. And it's been hard not to say anything just because, yeah, I'm super pumped. So some of you have probably heard about my Supermom Syndrome Solution program. It's getting a facelift. So it is being updated with more stuff. And on top of that, for those of you who are in the, who are registered for the free series, I am also giving a fun early bird bonus to all of you guys. So not only are you getting more, you are also getting it cheaper. And what, for those of you who don't know, what is this Supermom Syndrome Solution program? This is a 6-week group coaching program where you'll get me every week with modules as well as live coaching to help you go deeper into a lot of the stuff that we already kind of have gone through this week, but taking it even more, because you will have direct access to me to really work through those struggles. And there will be more. So this is teaching more strategies, a lot more mindset. I'm adding in some manifestation stuff into it a little bit more, which that's new, but that's, for me, that's how I feel like I've been as successful. So I want to share that with you guys as well. Each module also comes with a workbook, which will be brand new again, because everything's new. And I do a bonus Q&A call at the very end, so that way as you've gone through all of this and you're like, I still need help on something, there will be that available. And I know a lot of you are like, well, I don't know if I have time. If you are in a place where you don't feel like you have time, this is exactly why you need not only these 3 days, but this program in particular, because it will dive deeper. I can't even talk anymore, you guys. I'm trying to get all of this out because I want you guys to be able to get in on this, because it is fucking amazing this time around. So we will dive more into the limiting beliefs, which is part of what is keeping you stuck where you are right now. We did a little bit working on the growth mindset, so taking it from where we have this week and even more so that you can feel confident in not just your everyday things, but confidence in trying new things, going outside that comfort zone of where you're at right now, and really feeling empowered as a single mom, because you are fucking amazing and you deserve to feel it all of the time, not just some of the time. And that's one of the end goals to this program, is to come out feeling organized, feeling empowered, and feeling confident so that you can be the best mom that you can while also taking the best care of you. So what is this gonna cost? Because that's what everybody's like, well, I don't know if I can afford it. Okay. Firstly, there's always payment plans. Secondly, it won't be this low again. I'm offering the early bird price through Friday. The regular price will be $444, but for everybody through Friday, it's a 33% discount, so it's only $297. And there are payment plans available, so if you're like, yes, I really need this, but I can't afford that all at once, let me know and we can figure out how to make that work. Because if you want in, I want to make sure we can get you in one way or another. On top of that, I have opened up 2 VIP spots, which includes the entire program as well as one-on-one coaching during that 6 weeks. So you will also get 4 one-on-one calls with me that you can utilize throughout that, we'll say 8 weeks. You can utilize those versus just trying to cram them in the 6 weeks. And that one is normally $888, but with the 33% discount is only $595, which is crazy for one-on-one. But I want to make sure that you guys can get on this. So if you have questions on that, let me know. I will also be dropping the link for that. But those discounts are only through Friday. So if you're even remotely interested in it, definitely either comment or drop me a message. I'm not opening it up to the public until after Friday because they don't get the special pricing. Only you guys do. So, if you have questions, let me know. And I will be around. I need to finally go get myself some dinner. I will see you guys again soon. Probably live again soon just because I'm enjoying this. And I don't want to wait forever for another live. So drop your questions, comments, and I look forward to talking with you guys and getting, last thing, the program won't start until February. So there's a little bit of time. So you wouldn't be starting right away. So let me know and I look forward to seeing you guys in there.